During my son's birthday celebration, he said, "Thanks, Mom, for the new car. But if you really want to make me happy, just stay out of my life." Everyone laughed and clapped. I smiled, packed my things, and disappeared. What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you everything. First, let me quickly thank you for watching Granny's Voice. This means so much to us. If you enjoy our stories, please click that subscribe button. It would be amazing if you could tell us which city you're watching from. We might give you a shout out in our next video. Today's special shout out goes to Emma Johnson from Seattle. We're so happy you love our stories. Now let's dive into what happened. I always thought that if you keep loving someone long enough, they would love you back. That was how I raised my children. Maybe I was just fooling myself. But it's what I believed for many years. I became a single mom when life got hard. My son Jake came into this world as a quiet baby but grew up to be loud about everything. His father left when Jake was 8 years old. Said he couldn't handle being a dad anymore. Like it was just a job he could quit. So I did everything alone. I learned to fix broken bikes, cook his favorite meals, and show up to every soccer game, even when I was tired from working 2 jobs. I built my whole life around making him happy. I owned a small bakery that I started from nothing. Took me years to stop worrying about money, then to make enough, and finally to have more than enough. I never showed off my success. Kept things simple. But for Jake's 23rd birthday, I decided to do something big. I bought him a brand new Toyota truck, bright red with leather seats and everything fancy. It wasn't just a gift. It was my way of saying, "I see how hard you work. I'm proud of you. I'll always support you." I didn't know it would be the last thing I ever gave him. He had grown into a young man I barely knew. He was smart, good-looking, and confident, but also cold in a way that scared me. He hardly called me anymore, and when he did, we only talked about small things. We hadn't had a real conversation in many months. But I told myself that's just how young people are these days. Busy with their own lives. I was just the old mom he didn't need to talk to much. That didn't stop me from trying my best. The party was at his father's house. That was my first mistake. I should have known better. But Jake said it was easier to have it there. Said it was fair for everyone. Funny how the person who left us got to be called fair. I got there early like I always do. I helped set up tables, brought the cake I secretly paid for, and parked the new truck right in front with a huge bow on top. It looked silly, but I imagined how excited he would be. I thought maybe he would hug me tight like when he was little. Instead, I got a show. There were about 40 people there. Friends, cousins, people from his work, some faces I didn't even know. He looked handsome in his blue shirt, holding a drink, laughing like he didn't have any problems in the world. When he saw the truck, his eyes got big for just a second, and I saw a tiny bit of the boy I used to know. Then it was gone. "Mom, you didn't," he yelled, running over with his phone already out to take pictures. "This is crazy. Like who needs a truck this nice? You're wild. Wild. Not thoughtful. Not loving. Not appreciated. Just wild." I smiled because that's what I trained myself to do over the years. I stood next to him as he showed the truck to his friends, nodding as they said nice things. The attention he gave me was quick and fake. I was just something for his social media post. Then came the speech. Someone tapped a glass and suddenly Jake was standing on a chair, drink in his hand, smiling that same bright smile he got from his father. "I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming," he started, swaying a little because he had been drinking. "And special thanks to my mom who bought me this crazy truck." Like who does that? Only my mom, right? People laughed. I smiled, still hoping for something good. "But honestly," he continued, stopping for a moment, "if you really want to make me happy, just stay out of my life." The crowd went wild. Laughter, cheers, someone even whistled loudly. He beamed, proud of his little joke. I stood there like a statue. My smile stayed on my face, but inside something broke. He didn't look at me. Didn't wink or say, "Just kidding." He just took another sip and gave the attention to someone else. Nobody saw me leave. Not even him. I didn't slam doors or yell or make a big scene. I just walked slowly, step by step, past the food table, the talking people, the music, and out to the parking lot. The summer air was warm, but I felt cold inside. I felt like I was watching myself from far away. I got into my old car, the one I drove before I had money to spare, and sat there with my hands on the wheel, not moving. His words kept playing in my head. Stay out of my life. It was a joke to him, something funny. But to me it sounded like permission. Or maybe a challenge. I didn't cry that night. But I did sit there until the sky got dark and the party lights got dim inside the house. No one came looking for me. Not him, not his father. Not one of those people who laughed at my pain like it was entertainment. That's when I made my decision. It wasn't angry. It wasn't even sad. It was just clear. The clearest thing I'd felt in years. I was done. He wanted space. He could have it. He wanted freedom. I'd give it to him. But without all the nice things I gave him without asking. I would not pay for my own disrespect anymore. By the time I got home, my mind was already working. The truck was still in my name. I had the extra key and the tracking thing was still on. He hadn't even changed the insurance yet. I opened my computer and made the first call to the car place. They said they could pick it up in the morning. Next, I went to my online bank. 2 accounts were frozen in less than 10 minutes. The shared one I made when he started college and the card I gave him for emergencies that somehow paid for fancy dinners and expensive clothes. I left all the money there. I wasn't stealing. Just closing the doors. Then came the apartment. That one hurt. I bought it a year ago when he said he wanted his own place but couldn't pay rent in a nice area. I didn't put his name on it. Something told me to keep that boundary. And I was grateful now that I did. I called the building manager and said we were moving out. New people would move in by the end of the month. I'd pay for him to move his stuff and store it. One last nice thing. But he would need to leave. I wasn't going to make him homeless. Just make him responsible. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my living room with the lights off, thinking about every mean look, every eye roll, every phone call he didn't answer, every sarcastic, "Love you too, Mom." I thought about his second-grade play where he forgot his lines and ran off stage crying. I thought about when he turned 16 and I surprised him with a photo book of every drawing and award I'd saved. He rolled his eyes then too. Said I was doing too much. Maybe I always had been. The next day was quiet. No calls, no texts, just silence. I imagine he was still tired from the party, maybe showing off the truck again online. But by evening he must have noticed. The truck was gone by lunchtime, picked up clean from the driveway. His card stopped working at some coffee shop. I know because the bank app told me someone tried to use it. And by 10 p.m. the first text came. "Mom, hey, are you messing with my bank account? My card won't work." I didn't answer. Then another. "Mom, seriously. I can't get into the apartment. What's going on?" Still I said nothing. He'd asked for quiet. I was just giving him what he wanted. The next morning phone calls started. I didn't block his number. That would have been mean. But I let each one ring until it stopped. By the third voicemail, his voice had changed from confused to mad. Voicemail number 3. "Okay, what the heck is this? You can't just take back everything. This is insane. You're acting crazy." That word again. Crazy. Like I'd lost my mind instead of finally seeing clearly. But it was the 4th message that made my heart hurt. Voicemail number 4. "Mom, please. I didn't mean it. I was just trying to be funny. Everyone was watching. Please call me back. Please." I almost did. I almost pressed his name on my phone, hands shaking. But then I remembered his laugh. That cruel little moment on stage. The way he used his words to hurt me just to make people clap. I had smiled while my heart broke in front of 40 people. No, this wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was a pattern. Years of quiet disrespect. And I finally had the strength to name it. By the 3rd day he was begging. His voice had changed completely. His texts came like a flood, panicked, sorry, scared. "I didn't think you'd actually do this. Please don't cut me off. I don't know what to do. Please, Mom. I'm sorry." I stared at my phone, heart tight. The part of me that raised him, the part that loved him no matter what, wanted to call him back. But the part of me that had been hurt and drained felt strong. Finally called him back. He answered before the first ring even finished. "Mom." His voice was rough, broken, like he hadn't slept. I took a deep breath. "You told me the only way I could make you happy was to stay out of your life." "I was joking," he said quickly. "It was stupid. I didn't mean." "I know you didn't mean it, but you said it in front of everyone. You made me look like a fool." I was nervous. I didn't know what to say. I'm not doing this anymore, Jake." My voice didn't get loud. Stayed calm. "I gave you more than I should have. And you took it like you deserved it. Maybe that's my fault. But I won't keep bleeding for someone who laughs while I do." He went quiet. I ended the call with one final sentence. "Forget I exist. Move on. That's what you wanted, right?" Blick. I didn't check my phone for the rest of that day. I left it face down on my kitchen table, dark and quiet, buzzing now and then like a dying bee. I didn't want to hear him cry. I didn't want to read another sorry message mixed with manipulation. I wanted to sit with the silence. Let it fill every corner of my house that used to echo with his voice. That place had once been a home we shared, even after he moved out. Now it felt like a museum. Quiet, empty, haunted by ghosts of every version of us that never worked out. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation. I spent the day cleaning, not for visitors, not out of habit, just to move, to keep my hands busy. I scrubbed my kitchen until it sparkled, vacuumed under furniture where old crumbs and forgotten papers had gathered. I packed up the framed photos of Jake. Birthdays, graduation, that one from the lake when he was 7 and missing his 2 front teeth. I didn't throw them away. I just put them out of sight, like setting a boundary made of glass and cardboard. I wasn't erasing him, just stepping back. The house was too quiet. So I turned on music, oldies but goodies, low volume, and sat at my kitchen table with hot tea that tasted like bitter regret. That's when the first real call came. Not from Jake. From his father. "Are you out of your mind?" he barked, not even saying hello first. "You really took the truck. Froze his accounts. What the hell is wrong with you?" "I gave him what he asked for," I said calmly. "Oh, cut the garbage," he snapped. He was joking. It was a joke. No one was laughing with me, I replied. Only at me. There was silence on his end. I could almost hear him thinking of what to say next. "You're just trying to control him," he finally said. I laughed then. Not loud, not mean. Just a quiet, tired sound that tasted like truth. "I haven't controlled Jake in years. That's the problem. You're being dramatic. And you're still making excuses for him," I said, standing up now, my tea cold in my hands. "You always have. He's our son. He's a grown man. And if this is who he's become, then I'm done funding it." He hung up without another word. I stared at the phone like it owed me some kind of ending, but none came. The days passed in a blur. I stopped checking social media. I knew what I'd find there. The pity posts, the passive-aggressive captions, probably a selfie with tears and words like, "Some people show you who they really are." I didn't need to see it to know. The pattern was predictable. Public shame, private chaos, fake grief. He had a gift for drama, just like his father. But underneath the performance, I wondered if he was really starting to feel the weight of his own choices. By day 5 the calls stopped. Just silence. Full day without a missed call or message. It should have felt peaceful, but it didn't. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff after a landslide. Quiet but dangerous. I didn't second-guess what I'd done, but that didn't mean it didn't hurt. That evening I went to visit my sister Maria. She lived across town in a small house with a garden full of roses she planted every spring. She'd always been the balanced one. Less emotional, more honest. "You look like you've been hit by a truck," she said when she opened the door. I smiled a little. "Feel about the same." We sat on her back porch, iced tea in hand, sunset settling like a soft blanket over the neighborhood. "He really said that in front of everyone?" she asked after I told her the story. He nodded, smiled while he said it too. Maria took a long sip, then leaned back in her chair. "Damn, that's cold." "Yeah. You did the right thing," she said finally. "Took you long enough." I raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She gave me a look that cut deep. "You've been chasing his love for years, sis. Throwing money at a wound that needed honesty. You finally got honest. Good for you." I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me wanted to argue, to defend every gift and gesture, but I couldn't. 'Cause she was right. "Doesn't feel good," I said quietly. "No," she agreed. "It never does. But sometimes peace looks like loss. You just got to be brave enough to sit in it." We didn't talk much after that. Just sat in the dark, crickets singing in the distance. Two sisters who had grown up with different kinds of heartbreak. I left her house feeling no lighter, but more certain. When I got home, the message light on my old phone was blinking red. One new voicemail. I almost didn't play it, but something told me to listen. Voicemail number 6. "Mom, if you never want to talk to me again, I get it. But I just need you to know I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to be funny." Thought. I don't know what I thought. Messed up. Get it now. Everything you did for me. I didn't say thank you enough. I didn't act like I cared, but I did. I didn't know how to show it. Please, just don't give up on me completely. The line went dead. I didn't replay it. Didn't save it. Just deleted it, my thumb pressing the button like it weighed 100 pounds. Then I stood there for a long time staring at the quiet phone. He wanted me to believe he'd changed. That this moment was clarity, not strategy. But I've been burned too many times to reach back so quickly. Growth takes more than tears. Takes time. And he would have to take that journey on his own. The backlash came quietly at first. Few strange looks at church. A couple of cold shoulders from people who used to ask me about Jake every Sunday. I caught pieces of conversations that stopped when I walked into the room, their pity hanging in the air like thick smoke. They didn't know the full story, of course. They never do. All they heard was that I'd taken my son's truck, shut off his accounts, and kicked him out without warning. That I'd abandoned him. And I could see it on their faces. The unspoken question. What kind of mother does that? I didn't try to explain myself. I'd learned that some people aren't looking for understanding. They just want to feel superior. Let them have it. I had nothing left to defend. But the phone calls, that's where the real war started. My brother David was first. "You need to fix this," he said the moment I answered. "No hello. No how are you?" "There's nothing to fix," I replied. "He's your son, Linda. You don't just cut off your own flesh and blood like that." He cut me off first. Just did it with a smile and a microphone. "You're being petty." "No," I said, voice flat. "I'm being done." David didn't understand. Most of them didn't. They still believed in the myth of unconditional motherhood. That no matter how many times you're disrespected, you stay, you give, you absorb it all because that's what love looks like. But I was beginning to see that real love had boundaries. Real love sometimes meant stepping back instead of stepping in. Then came Rosa, my niece, David's daughter. She showed up at my house one afternoon without calling, like she used to when she was a kid, before college took her far away and adulthood made us strangers. She was 26 now, sharp-eyed. The kind of woman who could smell lies from a mile away. "I brought pizza," she said, holding up a box. "And no, I'm not here to guilt you." I stepped aside and let her in. She put the food on my kitchen counter and started opening boxes like she owned the place. "I know everyone's been coming at you," she said between bites. "And I know you're probably sick of defending yourself." "Not really defending," I said. "Just ignoring." She nodded. "Good, because you're not wrong." I raised an eyebrow. "You sure about that? Thought you were Team Jake." "I was," she said, chewing slowly, "until I saw him crying on Instagram talking about how you blindsided him out of nowhere." I asked him straight up, What did you say at the party? And he told me word for word. Waited. Rosa shook her head. He thought it was funny. Still does, I think. Even now, he doesn't fully get why it hurt. He humiliated me, I said. I would have taken it in private. I would have even forgiven it if he pulled me aside afterward. But he never did. Rosa looked at me for a long time. You didn't deserve that. But I got to ask. Why now? Why not earlier? Why give so much for so long if he never really earned it? That question sat heavy in the air. I leaned back in my chair, eyes on the ceiling. Guilt, maybe. His father leaving me working all the time. I thought if I gave him enough, he'd feel whole. Or he'd love me again like he used to when he was little, before life got complicated. He's not a kid anymore. I know, but part of me still sees him that way. That little boy who used to crawl into my bed when it stormed, who used to squeeze my hand so tight when he was scared. Rosa reached across the table, put her hand on mine. Maybe it's time you stop chasing that version of him. Let him catch up to who you are now. We sat there in silence, the air thick with grief and understanding. The next day, I ran into my old friend Carmen at the grocery store. She owned a flower shop and we'd worked together on a few events years back. Solid woman. We hadn't talked in months, but she spotted me near the bread aisle. Linda, she said, nodding. Heard about what happened? Yeah, I replied carefully, waiting for judgment. She surprised me. I just want to say I get it, she said. My daughter stopped talking to me after I stopped paying for her fancy apartment. Called me a traitor. Haven't spoken in a year. I'm sorry, I said genuinely. A shrug. Sometimes being a parent means being the villain in their story, at least for a while. That stuck with me for days. I began writing in a journal in the evenings. Nothing fancy, just notes, thoughts, trying to untangle the guilt from the growth. One night I wrote, "It's not that I stopped loving him. It's that I started loving myself too." And that's what it felt like. Like I was finally giving myself the kindness I kept handing to everyone else. By the end of that week, Jake's social media went quiet. No more sad quotes, no new photos. Either he'd accepted the silence or was just regrouping. I didn't know which. I didn't care. The damage was done. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the urge to fix it. I sat on my back porch with coffee in hand and watched the sun go down. No phone in sight, no emails to check. Just me, the breeze, and the slow, careful realization that peace isn't always warm or easy. Sometimes it's cold, sometimes it's lonely, but it's always honest. It came on a Wednesday afternoon, tucked between the bills and grocery store ads in my mailbox. A white envelope, my name written across the front in handwriting I hadn't seen in years. The kind he used before text messages replaced thank you notes. I stood on my porch for a long moment, just staring at it, my thumb tracing the edge of the paper, feeling like the air had gotten thicker around me. It wasn't a text. It wasn't a voicemail. It wasn't a post written for the world's sympathy. It was just a letter from my son. I didn't open it right away. I laid it on my kitchen counter next to my fruit bowl and walked away. Made coffee, folded laundry, pretended like my hands weren't itching to tear it open. But eventually, as the house settled into its usual afternoon stillness, I sat at my kitchen table, turned on the little lamp, and unfolded the single page inside. His writing was messy, rushed, not performative, not polished. It felt raw. Mom, I don't know how to start this except to say I'm sorry. Not in the way I said it on the phone. Not in the way people say it when they want something. I mean it this time. I was cruel. I thought I was being funny and I wasn't. I knew it the second I saw your face. But I was too proud to say anything. And I hate that about myself. You've always been there for me. You gave me everything. Things I didn't earn, things I didn't thank you for. I got used to you fixing everything. To you showing up, to you forgiving me without asking me to grow. And when you finally didn't, it broke something in me. I deserve that break, but it still hurt. I'm not asking for the truck back or the apartment or the money. I just want to know if one day maybe we can talk again. When you're ready. I love you even if I never showed it right. And I'm sorry. I really am. Love, Jake. I read it twice, then a third time. My hand shook. Not from anger but from the weight of it, the honesty, the humility. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was real. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel rage pressing at my chest. Just grief. That old, slow-burning ache of watching someone you love finally see themselves clearly after all the damage is done. I set the letter down, leaned back in my chair, and stared out the window. My mind flickered with memories. His little hand in mine on the first day of school. Him screaming at 14 that I didn't understand anything. His quiet, grateful hug when I paid off his student loans. The roller coaster of raising him. Beautiful, exhausting, filled with sharp turns I never saw coming. I didn't call him. I didn't write back. Not because I was still angry, but because change, real change, needs time. And letters are only words until actions show up to match them. I wasn't going to open my doors again just because he opened his heart once. But I could honor the gesture without reopening the wound. Later that week I stopped by the DMV. I signed over the title to his old 2009 Honda Accord, the car he drove in high school. I had it in my garage for years. It needed new tires and a fresh oil change, but it still ran well. Reliable, basic. It felt right. A symbol of responsibility, of earning one's keep. I didn't include a note, no message, no guilt. Just the keys and paperwork left in a padded envelope and mailed to the address his father gave me when I called to confirm where he was staying. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. A small door cracked open, not wide. I expected him to text when he got it to say thank you, maybe even ask why. But days passed. Then a week. And nothing came. No message, no call, just silence. And weirdly, that silence didn't hurt. It felt mature. Like maybe he understood that this wasn't his moment to speak again, but mine to breathe. I spent more time outdoors after that. Started walking in the mornings, joined a local book club. Nothing fancy, just older women in comfortable chairs talking about stories over coffee. One of them, Betty, I think, asked if I had kids. I paused for a second before answering. I do, I said. One son. Close, she asked. Thought about it. We used to be, then we weren't, and now maybe we're figuring it out. She nodded like that made perfect sense. One night, I stood in my closet organizing old clothes and found the birthday card I never gave him. The one I bought before the party. It was still in my purse, sealed, written, forgotten. Opened it. Inside was a simple message. No matter how far we drift, you'll always be my son. Love, Mom. I stared at those words and realized I still meant them. But meaning something doesn't mean surrendering your peace. It means holding space, creating distance with dignity, letting love exist without letting it bleed you dry. I slipped the card back into the envelope and filed it away in a drawer. Not to give, just to keep. A reminder that love doesn't always come with reunions. Sometimes it just comes with clarity. The silence stopped feeling sharp after a while. It softened into something almost comfortable, like an old sweater you wear around the house. Not stylish, not warm enough for the coldest days, but familiar. I didn't know if Jake would ever write again. I didn't know if I'd ever open another letter if he did. But I knew this. I didn't need to hear from him to have closure. I didn't need a reunion or a tearful embrace or some movie scene redemption to know I had made the right call. Sometimes all a woman needs is her own peace. I had spent so many years reacting, fixing, funding, forgiving that it took real effort just to be. To sit in my own skin without needing someone else to reflect my worth back to me. That was the hardest part, really. How much of my identity I had tied to being his provider, his protector, his safety net. I had trained myself to live for his needs. Without that role, I had to figure out who I was when no one was watching, when no one needed saving. Mornings became a ritual. Coffee at 6 a.m., the newspaper in hand. Soft music in the background. I started cooking again. Simple stuff, scrambled eggs, toast, fresh fruit. I'd forgotten how much joy there was in feeding myself. Not for anyone else, just me. I even took up gardening in my backyard. Planted tomatoes, herbs, a small flower bed. It didn't matter if everything grew perfectly. It was mine, my hands, my effort, my life. One afternoon I walked past Jake's old bedroom, still mostly untouched, and paused at the door. The posters on the wall had faded. His bookshelf stood half empty, like someone pressed pause on his teenage years and never hit play again. I thought about taking everything down, painting it fresh, turning it into a craft room. But I didn't. Not because I was waiting for him to come back, but because that space reminded me of where we started. Before everything got messy, before money became love's substitute, and silence became our default language. It reminded me that we had once been close, that it wasn't all bad. He'd made his choices and I'd made mine, but the love hadn't vanished. I'd just changed shape. Rosa came by a few weeks later with homemade cookies and her usual knowing look. "You look peaceful," she said with a smile. "Don't sound too surprised." She sat on my porch swing and kicked her feet like she used to as a kid. "He's working part-time at a community center now, living with a roommate. Said he's trying to get his life together." "That's good," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "He still hasn't reached out, huh?" I shook my head. "Would you want him to?" I sipped my coffee and thought about it. Thought about what I'd say if Jake showed up tomorrow with a suitcase full of humility and hope. "I don't know," I said finally. "I think I'd need him to show up different. Not polished, not perfect, just honest and willing to do the work." Rosa nodded. "He said he's trying to become the kind of son he should have been." I didn't respond because hope is a quiet thing. You don't speak it too loudly or it disappears. Later that night, I walked out to my back porch, lit a small candle, and watched the flame dance in the gentle breeze. The stars were out, clear, sharp, uncaring. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the old birthday photo I kept folded in my wallet. Jake, age 6, chocolate cake on his cheek, laughing with pure joy. Before he learned the art of sarcasm, before I learned that love couldn't buy loyalty, I whispered, "I still love you, kiddo." Not to him, but to the memory of him, to the version I raised, not the one I lost, and maybe, just maybe, to the one he was still trying to become. But I didn't pick up the phone. I didn't write another letter. I didn't tell Rosa to pass on a message. Because part of being a parent, maybe the hardest part, is knowing when to let go. Not out of punishment, but out of respect for her journey, for mine, for the space we both needed to finally grow. If Jake ever came back, I'd listen. But I wouldn't be. And if he didn't, I'd be okay. I had found peace in the quiet. Not because I stopped loving him, but because I finally started loving myself. Sometimes walking away is the bravest kind of love. What would you have done in this mother's shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments. Whether you've been the parent, the child, or caught somewhere in between. If this story made you feel seen, hit that like button. And for more raw, real-life family stories that don't shy away from hard truths, make sure to subscribe to Granny's Voice. Your voice and your boundaries matter. See you soon in the next story.